There is no denying the power of AI in web design. For that reason, we've developed SenseAI to help you utilize AI within your Builderius build process. So now let's see how we can get started. Builderius SenseAI is an MCP server that allows you to connect AI coding agents to your Builderius website builder. We are starting first with Claude code, but it will be expanded to other AI agents, and it requires two things to work on your local terminal. First is NodeJS and Claude code. I'll leave a link to the instructions in the description where you can just go ahead and see how to install it. There are instructions for Mac users and for Windows users. In today's video, we'll be looking at Windows installation. I'll leave a link to the setup for Mac users. So first, you go ahead and install Node.js from the official website. You can go ahead and install the Windows installer.msi, and you make sure that Add to Path is checked. Once you've installed Node.js, you can go ahead and confirm that Node.js is installed on your local terminal by heading over to something like PowerShell that comes with Windows, and you simply type node-v. So node space -v to check for the version, and it shows that the version is 24.14.0. So make sure it's at least 22.0 that is currently installed on your PC. So once that's done, we can go ahead and continue. So once you've installed and activated Node.js, the next step is to install Git for Windows. So you go to the official Git for Windows and you choose to install for your version. So choose the Windows installer and run the setup. Once that's complete, we can now go ahead and open back our PowerShell and install Claude code. So to install Claude code, you simply write this command, which is in the description. So I'll copy that command. I'll go to my PowerShell and I'll just paste it. Then you can go ahead and click on it. It will go ahead and install Claude code. It will take a little bit of time. So I'll just run through the process and we can move on from there. Once Claude code has been installed, then you can go ahead and make sure you configure Claude by simply typing Claude. Then you put /login. If you run Claude/login and you get an error that the term Claude is not recognized, it means that the path has not been set correctly. So you need to run two commands. So the first command, I'll leave a link to both of them in the description, is to now go ahead and set the correct environment variable for the path. Once you've done that, the second command is to now make sure that you apply the path to the current session. Once those two codes have been applied, everything should work properly. So now we can go ahead and click on Claude and login, and basically to take you through the steps for logging in to your Claude. So you simply run through the process and everything should work properly. Once we've successfully logged into our Claude code, we just need to do one final step, which is to install Builderius Sense. So just go ahead and copy the npm install code. Then we'll go back to PowerShell and we'll run that code. If you get the error that running scripts is disabled on this system, then you need to run PowerShell as an administrator and change the execution policy. So open PowerShell, run it as an administrator. Then I'll paste the following code into it. So Set-ExecutionPolicy, and I'll set it to the current user, should be signed. Then I'll go ahead and say yes to all. And that's done. So now we can go ahead and retry that code. Go ahead and copy and paste the code. And now SenseAI should be installed correctly. Now that we've installed everything, so we are now ready to go into the next step. To use SenseAI on your WordPress installation, you need Builderius Pro. If you don't have the Pro version already, you can head over to builderius.io/pricing to purchase your own license. Once you've installed Builderius and Builderius Pro, head over to Builderius and then Settings and activate your license. Once your license has been activated successfully, you now see the option for SenseAI. And click on that option, you'd see the toggle to enable SenseAI. By default, it is disabled because we want to give users the choice to either activate or deactivate the SenseAI. We don't want to just impose upon your users because some people are still skeptical about AI. So if you want it to run on your website, you now go ahead and toggle the option, and it'll tell you two options. We have local and remote. So local is when you want to run on your local website. So let's say you're using local WP or one of these XAMPP or something like that to run on your local site. Then you use the local connection, and you can see it has detected NodeJS, Claude code, and every other thing has been detected. If you want to run it on an external website, then you use the remote option. So that's for when you want to run it on your live site. I would advise you to use Claude code on your local installation. Once you're happy with your setup, then you can now migrate from your local site to your public site. I wouldn't really recommend using the Claude code directly on your public site, but it's all up to you. We give you options for both. Okay, so we are running in local, so I'm going to use the local option, and all you have to do is just save settings. And basically that's it. The final step is to now go into your Builderius template or your Builderius page and run Claude code from there. At the bottom, you see a tab called SenseAI. When you click on it, it will ask you to start the SenseAI terminal. So I'll say start server. If you get any error when you try to start the server, then simply head over to 127.0.0.1 column, the port number that you set up in your settings of Builderius, which was 7681, and then /health. Once you open that in a separate tab on your browser, you'll accept the risks, and then everything should now work properly. So you can now go back and try to restart the server, and it should work to expectation. So now I can go ahead and accept that I trust the folder, and we now have Claude code installed on our website. Let me go ahead and reduce the panel, and you can see Claude code is fully aware of your context on your website. So whatever you have clicked on, so let's say I click on the main, you can now go ahead and just start typing what you want Claude code to do. It is quite powerful. So you can say maybe create a hero section with an inner container and 2 columns side by side with content on the left and the image on the right column. The text column should have an H1 paragraph and CTA button for learn more. The second column should have an image that extends to the edge of the screen, while the text column remains within the content area. Use some demo copy and a random image from Unsplash. Then let me go ahead and press enter, and let's see what it comes up with. You can also just get a URL from another website that you think you like, and then you can just give it as much context as possible for the AI to build your proper section. Right now, I just used a random text, so it might not come out with the proper content because I didn't feed it any content. But let's see what it comes up with, and we'll go from there. one nice thing about SenseAI is that it works with the CSS that you have in your global CSS. If it doesn't see the CSS in your global CSS, then it will go ahead and generate a template level CSS. So as you can see, it used some of the CSS that I applied, and this CSS was not even the Builderius core framework. I just used a random framework, and it was able to recognize that framework, use the CSS that are right from the framework, and applied all of the styles that I need. So that's one powerful thing about Builderius. As you can see, if you go to all of them, since we have Builderius Pro, I can just go to each of them, and whichever one uses under the styles, if it uses a global CSS, then if you go under the styles, you can see the entire CSS that was used. It is the global CSS. It uses what I already created. Otherwise, it will go ahead and create a local class. For example, we have hero section. So under the hero section, if I now go over to selectors and then templates, and I just go ahead and check out the CSS that was created, you can see the CSS that was added, a min height and align items stretch, and so on. So now it's asking you that do you want to save? So that's another thing about Builderius. It has those guardrails. It will not save unless you ask it to save. So all I have to just do is press the tab key to say it should save. And now to go ahead and it will save my current layout. Ignore the fact that everything is looking different in the builder. That's because I always zoom my screen in. So, but for you, when you use it, it should work out well. So you can see the image is stretching to the edge of the screen while the text remains within the content area. So as I mentioned it, it understood my request and it used it. Ideally, I would say you should use the Builderius CSS framework, but it doesn't matter. Use your own framework as long as your framework has understandable class names. So if the class names and the variables are understandable, then the AI will understand and use those class names well within the layout and build a layout for you. It was able to recognize that my website is a recipe blog, and that's why it was able to discover flavors that move you and create content that relate to my text without me even telling it that information. So it is very context aware of your entire website. So yeah, that's just a brief overview of Builderius SenseAI within a Windows computer. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. We'd love to hear your questions. If you have any feedback of how we can improve, let us know. In a future video, I'll show you how to use the SenseAI on a remote computer. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.